Okay. Are you ready? I'll call the meeting to order. Special council meeting of March 24th, 2015. There's nothing to be added to the agenda? No.
Your Worship, I'd move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Thank you. I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? And Councillor Peterson, you can also vote by saying yes verbally. We've lost the sound on Councillor Peterson. I can just barely hear you. She's on here.
Oh,
so.
press the speaker.
Okay,
at the
just
very
hold on a
bottom.
second.
Sorry.
Try it again, please.
Yes.
There we
Perfect,
go.
thank you. There we are. First item on the business is Council Spring Workshop, and administration's bringing that forward, please.
Yes. Your Worship, Council's workshop for spring is scheduled to take place May 1st to 3rd. There's been some discussion amongst Council about holding the workshop in a different community other than Strathmore. Administration is bringing this item forward so that Council can make a decision on where to hold the spring workshop.
Okay. Any questions for administration? Councillor Fuel?
I have a question through the chair to Dr. Stanford. Dr. Stanford, the last 4 budget sessions from 2010 to 2014, sorry, would you say that they've been successful budgets and have had good success with projects?
Yes, they've turned out good.
How has our debt ratio changed since 2010?
It's gone down quite a bit. We're very happy about that.
So if I can just reiterate, the fact that we had these budgets in town, in council chambers, produced good workable budgets and good projects for the town?
Yes,
Could you tell me what a typical cost to go out of town for a budget retreat would come in at, including counselors and administrative staff?
in the past, they've run 7,000 or 8,000.
Okay, the figure I remember being told to us was sometimes 12 to 13,000. Would you say that it would be much cheaper to have the budget meeting in Strathmore as opposed to going away?
Yeah, that's obvious. But for example, the reason it would have been higher, some years it was 10,000, but that's when we took quite a few staff. We took pretty well a lot of the management committee, and
Do you know the number?
we probably wouldn't take all the management committee if we did it now.
So approximately 7,000 to 8,000?
That's our estimate.
Okay. That's my questions, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Oh.
Councillor Sobel?
Well, just a comment, Your Worship. I've been trying to figure out what the need is to go to Canmore rather than have it and I'll be very honest with you. I thought our meetings here in town were fairly successful, and what I've been able to gather from discussions and previous council meetings that dealt with this was that this was a trip up to Canmore or to Banff or to Red Deer would enhance the team building. It would be used as a team building exercise as well for council, and I'm sure that council's aware, but team building is kind of a specialty. It's a specific effort, and in fact, the definition of it is that it's the use of different types of team interventions that are aimed at enhancing social relations and clarifying team members' roles, as well as solving tasks and interpersonal problems that affect team functioning. So this is a far more intense program than what's being proposed here. And while I agree that most organizations, and ours would not be exempt, would benefit from some kind of team building exercise or effort, this should be by its very definition a very planned and organized event that must be focused on improving how a team functions. Meeting in Canmore or Banff or Red Deer to discuss what is very clearly a huge agenda with no real focus on actual team building simply seems to me to be counterproductive. Our spring workshop meetings now start on Friday at 6 p.m., run all day Saturday and at least half a Sunday. This is a very busy 16 or so hours of meetings and discussions, and I can't understand why this work cannot be done in the confines of these four walls. The savings are, in my opinion, substantial, and certainly I can think of a number of things that we could use this money for. Over the last few weeks, a member or two of this council has repeatedly cautioned us against unnecessary spending in these unstable financial times. And I'm a little surprised to see that these warnings and cautions have suddenly disappeared. Like anyone else, I would love a weekend out in the mountains, but really don't think there's any advantage to us dealing with these issues in Canmore or Banff or Red Deer rather than right here in the town of Strathmore. Thank you.
Question? Councillor Graychuk, or Deputy Mayor Graychuk?
I just want to comment that, yeah, this, I was a big promoter of not going out of town also, but I think for the first year of a new council, that it's a good thing in a sense that there is some team building regardless of whether it's organized or not. You just get to talk on a more relaxed basis to your fellow councillors. And the other thing is, if you divide that $8,000 by 4 years, I don't think we should go every year. I think just once, the very first year that a council gets organized or is elected. And if you divide the 8,000 by 4 years, it comes to about $175 a year per councillor, and including the administration. So $175 over a 4-year budget is not a bad, to me, bad expenditure. Thank you.
Are these still questions or are these still?
Well, this is still questions.
Okay.
Councillor Peterson, did you have any questions?
No, I don't, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Walsh?
Your Worship, I guess I'd just like to make a comment. I was an avid, I did make the comments that we need to be fiscally responsible. We're entering the difficult times. I see this as almost twofold. I see this as an opportunity to network as councillors. I see it as an opportunity for me to be more focused on the task at hand. I find when I'm here, the job still gets done, no doubt. But I'm not as focused as where if I was just at a different location and that's all I had to worry about was just focusing on getting this budget rolled out or whatever we were working on. To me, I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I'm now pushing this. And I support Deputy Mayor's comments about I would not support doing this every year. I would not support doing this, both workshops. I think it's important, though, for us to be focused on our task and really spend the time. And I think we can be focused here, but I think it's a little bit more difficult. I know when we go out to go for supper or whatever, it's we're not really focusing. We're not really networking. We're more just kind of meet at the station at 6 o'clock and we kind of go there. Whereas if we were at the hotel or whatever, there'd be an opportunity for us to sit and network a bit more and really get to understand each other. I think it goes a little bit more into understanding, not so much team building. I agree with Councillor Sober's comments about team building. Team building is a separate topic. But I really see this more as understanding how each of us works and how each of us thinks. And I think that's really what's missing right now in this council. I would support going away at this time.
Councillor Field?
When I ran for council, in 2010, there were a lot of comments about per diems, and there were some comments about going away for retreats that are paid for. And I made a promise, and I talked to a lot of people and I said I would not support this. And we did away with these budget retreats twice a year, and we saved the town a lot of money. And now it seems we're just willing to flip-flop on that and go back to sending us away for a budget retreat. I don't believe I need to be at a retreat to know and respect my fellow councillors. I know what are the important items for each councillor, what things are important to them as far as the town's concerned. We all do our work on our committees. I don't think we have to go away to be the get-along gang to be a good council. We can do that by staying here in town. The town people expect us to, and as far as being focused, we're supposed to be professional. The townspeople elected us to work for them. And if we can't sit down in our own town that we live in and do a good job creating a budget, which we've done for 4 years now, I think there's something wrong with us if we have to go away to be focused. To me, it's unnecessary. It's absolutely unnecessary. And I wouldn't support it at all.
Your Worship, if I may just comment a bit more about the focusing part. When we come in here for a 3-hour meeting or whatever, your mind is really on, it's really not on the actual, the day. Whereas if you were actually gone away and spent the time as a unit and I had the opportunity. I went away my first term on council. We went away every year, and I found that I was much more focused. I was much more prepared. I was much more ready. The last 2 years here, I found it very difficult to stay focused on task. I found it very difficult, and my rationale for that is because we're so close to our family's concerns, and we're so close to that being able to just run home for a couple minutes. Where if you're out of town, you're really on the actual focused portion of it. I've had the opportunity to speak to a fair number of citizens about this. Their concerns, their comments were for $7,000 or $8,000. They really weren't concerned about that. Your Worship, if I may make a question to Dr. Stanford. How many years has the town been going away?
I know of 20 years.
Okay. And Your Worship, if I may, Dr. Stanford, would you say that by council not going away the last number of years has significantly reduced our debt rate?
That's apples and oranges.
It's probably helped a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
I just want to make a comment that I agree with Councillor Graychuck in regards to the concept of doing some team building within the first year of a council. And early, I think actually it should happen within the first 3 months of a new council to do some planning and some far range planning and some team building, because it normally is a new council. But just as a reminder, this is year 2. We're about a year and a half late for a team building exercise if one was to follow that logic, and I still can't support this proposal at this time.
I'll entertain a motion, please.
Your Worship, I'd like to hear from Councillor Peterson. Have you got any comments?
Thank you, Councillor Graychuck. I have no questions, so I'll save it for the debate.
Yeah, we're just in the question period.
Okay.
Okay. And that's why I'm waiting for the motion. So if someone wants to make a motion, please.
Your Worship, I would move that council hold the 2015 spring workshop on May 1st to 3rd, 2015 in Strathmore Town Council chambers.
We have a motion on the floor. Any discussion?
Whenever you're ready, Your Worship.
We're ready, Councillor Peterson, if you would like to discuss, please.
So I am in favor of going to a retreat, but before I speak to the motion, or before I speak in favor of the motion, this retreat is a planning session. Am I correct?
Planning session?
This session mainly is goals and objectives of council, as well as the capital
I can't
budget.
hear Dwight.
Goals and objectives.
Yes.
And the
So it's a
capital
planning
budget.
session as opposed to doing the budgeting. So hearing Councillor Fuel and remembering the 2010 promises that he made, I'm respectful of that. I also think that this is a very different environment than the council of that time in terms of the money that was spent within and in the processes that were spent during that time.
May I interrupt for just a quick second, just to also add, it's also for capital budget.
Yes, of course. That's the planning perspective part of it. And so I've only spent, in the April planning session in 2014, that's been my only one. And in that session, we left a great deal on the table at the end of that time. And I think we actually met longer than we had originally anticipated. And we left a lot of things on the table, things that we didn't even get to. And so when I hear Councillor Fuel say that if we can't sit down and form a budget, I think that it's more than that. I think that anyone can do that. Anyone can sit down and write a budget. Our administration is very capable of doing that. But a retreat is a planning session, a visioning session. It's not just a budget session. And I think that we can very easily misconstrue the process to connect the fact of going or not going to budget numbers. And when we know full well that there are a multiplicity of factors that impact our budget, not just the $7,000 that 6 councillors, or 7 councillors rather, and administration going away. That's a small part. That barely equates to my personal budget on council, which, by the way, I never spent last year. And so, as a councillor, I'm very prepared to utilize funds out of my own personal budget as well, if that's the case, because I know that that wasn't used. And I think that that money is there for a purpose. And I think that there's a professional development aspect to planning and going on retreats. And I think that changing environments triggers some new ideas. I hear Councillor Wall's comments about being away from the busyness of community life and family life that allows you to be quiet in your head and to be able to think in a way that's focused entirely on the job at hand. I also have consulted several people in the community and haven't had anyone say to me that this would be money wasted. And I guess the decision about whether or not the money wasted would be something that would happen not there, but what happens when it's over. And I also think that in planning retreats, and I'm thinking about previous councils and my experience, my extraneous experience to previous councils, there was a lot of really good planning and guidance and a very strong coaching component that helped with the execution of those planning retreats so that they could carry out the maximum amount of effectiveness into the future. So they facilitated experience sharing. And if that led to team building, that was good. But that, as Bob said, that was not the purpose. And so I'm very, very much in favor of it. I think we need a targeted theme, and that theme is around capital planning, but I think we can use that economic development document that we worked on as a targeted theme. I think having a retreat away gives us time to think specifically and concentrate on only that. We don't have people getting up from the table saying, I'm tired, I'm done, I have to go home. And I think the other thing that's really, really important, we didn't do it the first year. Bob is right. We didn't do it the first year, and I think that was a mistake. And I think some of the issues that this council has faced, from the censure of the mayor to the other things that has wrought inside of our council, is connected to a lack of experiential planning. And I think that there's something that we could do a lot better. And of course, it will only be as good as the commitment of the people who go. But I think that it's more, it has a lot to do with just more than just going away. Pat's right. Councillor Fuel is right. We can do the same job that we've always done. But I think we need to do a better job than what we've been doing. And I think that we can do that if we're away. I don't care where it is. I think that spending that very small amount of money comparatively to the huge responsibility that we carry is something that we can prove to our community that we can do better and we can do well. And I think retreats can teach us how to use it for the benefit of community.
Is that all, Councillor Peterson?
For now, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councillor Fuel.
Again, I don't want to, thank you, Your Worship. I don't want to have anyone think that I think going away is a waste of time. I don't believe that. I just don't think it's a necessary thing because I think we've done a very good job in the last, I think we've done a very good job in the last 4 fall budgets and spring budgets without having to leave the town. And we've spent money here in town to support local business instead of going to another town and spending money to support their local businesses. I just don't think there's a need to do this. And I think this council, I think that even though we have differing opinions on things, I think this council is a good council too. We're all doing our jobs and responsibilities on committees. I don't see a necessary thing to team build right now. I know, like I said before, I have a really good idea of what my fellow councilors' goals and visions are for what they want to see for the town. And it's the individual things we do. And then when we come back together, that makes us better. And we can do that right here in town. And I have a question about my motion is, if my motion is defeated, then do we have a second motion then on having the spring workshop in another area? Because we could be at a situation where we're deadlocked. I'm not sure how the vote will go. So I'm kind of wondering where the heck we're going to go after that. Because we do have to make a decision here. But again, I say stay in town. We support our local community's economy. We can go to different restaurants for meals and bond over that. And I just don't agree with going away to do this.
Councillor Sobel?
Thank you. I just want to say that I agreed with much, if not most, of what Councillor Peterson said today. But if we were to incorporate all of those, and I say this quite seriously, great ideas into this meeting that's coming up, we need a couple more days. We just cannot physically incorporate everything that is on our table at this point in one weekend. It just there's just not enough time. And that's why I started this whole discussion with saying that team building and visioning are very important issues, but they need a lot of time, and they need a lot of preparation, and they need a professional manner in which they're dealt with. I just can't see us throwing little tidbits of those important issues into the meeting that we're going to be holding for a number of other areas. Thank you.
My hand is up, Your Worship.
I'm sorry, Councillor Peterson, say that again?
Your hand is up.
Oh, your hand's up. Go ahead, Councillor Peterson.
This is a question, Your Worship, to Councillor Sobel. If we did not use the retreat in terms of planning this particular session, because you make a very good point that there may not be time to adequately plan and mentor a retreat inside of this, would you consider a team building, visioning, planning retreat around our economic policy process and our actions and proactive actions as a council into the future, in the near future?
Absolutely. I'd have some conditions that I'm not prepared to discuss at this point, but absolutely. And if the subsequent question is, do I think we need it? Absolutely.
Anything further, Councillor Peterson?
I'm thinking, Your Worship.
Okay. Put your hand up when you want to discuss
Thank you.
further. Any further items for discussion? Then I will make a comment. One of the items that was brought to my attention, and it was mentioned by another councillor, was the amount of dollars going out of our community. And with the strained economic situation in the province, we should really consider looking at supporting our local businesses, and that hit home with me. The other area that I have a concern is to spend $6,000 to $8,000 at this point. And I just want to exercise some caution in regards to that. At this point, I don't feel I can support going out of town. However, I do support the concept in regards to us coming up with a solution and doing some team building and some visioning and future thinking in regards to where we want to go as a council, where we want to go as a town. And personally, I can support us considering some type of venue, and I won't know what that venue is yet, but some type of venue for us to look at a team building in the future. And I will stop there.
Your Worship?
Yes, Councillor Peterson.
Just in response to that, the best way any council can support their local businesses is by being intelligently informed and making informed decisions, not by going to have supper in a local restaurant.
Councillor Field?
Well, Your Worship, to counteract that, I guess I'm saying we don't have to go out of town to make informed and good decisions. We can still do that here in our own council chambers. And I still think we can be focused, we can be energetic, we can have ideas that are out of the box without having to leave the town limits. And I don't think it's just a supper when you're in town. You're doing breakfasts and lunches, and it's over a 3-day period. So it's still money that's being spent in the town that would be spent out of town in another town. So I still really feel when you look at that over a 4-year term, you are setting an example. You're basically, by your actions of staying in town, you're sending a message to the townspeople. You're sending a message to the townspeople that we're here, we're staying in town, we're fulfilling our responsibilities in town. And over the last 4 years, you could show the thousands of dollars that are being spent in town as opposed to going out of town. So, and I really do believe that we are professional enough that we could have good, strong budget sessions, and we've proved it by staying right here in town.
Thank you, Councillor Field.
Your Worship?
Councillor Peterson?
I think if that were the case, first of all, I think that I've only been to one planning session, but I did not find it focused. I did not find it creative. I did not find it contemplative. And I didn't find it motivating. I didn't find it particularly inspiring. I think that it got the job done. I think that it met challenges. I think that's more as a result of the fact that we have phenomenal staff than in terms of the creativity that was exhibited by council. And I include myself in that. I think it's one of the things that retreats do is that it's extremely helpful to be reflective in that focused and creative environment, which I haven't seen in either our budget planning or our capital planning. I think the argument that Councillor Field gave for staying in town and spending that money, the same could happen of every single professional development or planning opportunity that we have, whether it's AUMA, whether it's the FCM, economic development, meetings that take place out of town in terms of going to Cochrane or to Airdrie or to any other place in our province or outside of our province. All of those things take money out of our community, and yet they create an environment and an expertise and a reflectiveness that impacts the day-to-day business. And so whether or not we do go away for this planning session is one thing. But I think we should be very, very careful about manipulating our public on a political platform as opposed to one that is based in economic planning and good and sensible creative process. And so we have some challenges, huge challenges in front of us with regards to a community that's changing in terms of economics in our province, but we also have some changes in terms of the community and who we are. And recharging that and refocusing it, I think, can be a very motivating factor. And I don't necessarily think that I'm at my best when I'm thinking about all the other things that occur in my community and my day-to-day life. And so whether that happens at a planning session or at a subsequent session that happens very soon, because we've got things that this council needs to fix. And those things that we have not fixed, that we continue to deal with, are impacting on our day-to-day business. And I can be more specific if you need me to be, but we all know that that's the case. And so who and when and how that retreat should take place, I think is a level of consideration that needs to be discussed, either inside this motion or outside of it, but it needs to be discussed before we go to a second motion. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Fuel.
Yeah, I have a little problem with the implication that there's some manipulating of towns residents so that it looks like it's a political thing on my part or any of our parts for staying, and mentioning things like AUMA and other conferences. Those are things that, like the AUMA conference, which is in Edmonton or Calgary, that I have gone to. I haven't gone to as many as some of the others. We don't have a choice. They're held elsewhere. So the only way for us to do that networking and go to those sessions is if we do go out of town. And trust me, if that we could bring things here instead of going to Edmonton, I would stay here and go to the sessions in town. But when you have no choice but to go to AUMA or a downtown revitalization conference in Edmonton, yeah, you do have to go out of town. But we have a choice here. We have a choice to do the same thing that we would do in Canmore or Banff or Red Deer, and we can do it here, and we can be focused here. And if we feel we need to have a visioning or a retreat where we bring ourselves closer together and look at the future, that's a separate issue. I could be willing to listen to that. But as far as a budgeting weekend retreat, I don't think we need it for budgeting and for planning. I think we can do it right here in town. And I really believe that the last 4 years has been a success in this town. We've done a lot of things as far as planning for the future and putting in things that haven't been done before. And I just think about things like the downtown overlay and the wildflower reservoir, all the various roads we've put in, the parks and pathways we've improved upon. All those were accomplished, which are things that are going to affect the future of Strathmore positively. We've done them all by planning and staying in town. So again, I say, stay in town for this and treat a retreat idea for a weekend away to plan or develop that as a totally separate issue.
Deputy Mayor Graychuk?
I believe
Your Worship.
Okay.
I believe that travel is always good for the mind, soul, and body, and whether it be a short trip or a long trip, you learn something about the community you're going to, and you can bring that back to your own town council. And I plan on and when I'm going this on my own time, meeting with the mayor or the councillors there that I know, and learning from what they're doing, and it brings back insight and vision for our community, and that can save us a whole bunch of money if we all did that. And I invite any councillor that wants to come with me to want to meet or go with the mayor and or a councillor that community we're going to. I just think it's a real plus. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you, Worship. Just in response to Councillor Field's last comment, I think that I've been to part of one AUMA since being on council, and I did find it marginally useful. But what I have found much more useful is not going to AUMA and doing the online courses that they offer, and I found them very, very useful. And I just think that an out-of-town retreat, according to, and I think that this is not just my thinking. This occurs on the website of the MGA. It's something that they actively promote because in their experience, they know that retreats can be excellent mechanisms for inspiring new thinking and fresh ideas. And they know that being in a new location, as Councillor Graychuk said, opens up people's minds to alternative points of view. And it helps isolate a group so that it encourages interaction within that group that might not otherwise occur. And I think the success of the retreat lies in strengthening relationships between group members. And I think that's something that this council desperately needs. And the environment of a retreat outside of the environment of the town office can cut down on distractions and can really allow for, from my personal perspective, and I reflect Councillor Wall's attitude or ideas, that it allows for greater concentration. And I think that that I am open to Councillor Sobel's idea, but I want some assurances that that could happen, and could happen relatively quickly in the context of what we're dealing with now. Thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, the motion is that council hold the 2015 spring workshop on May 1st to 3rd, 2015 in Strathmore in council chambers. All in favor? Opposed?
Opposed?
Thank you. It was a tie, so the motion is defeated. Councillor Walls.
Your worship, I'd like some more information from administration. It says the estimates range from 6,700 to 7,800 for the communities of Banff, Canmore, and Red Deer. Is it possible to have a much more detailed list of exactly what facilities you're looking at for Banff, which ones you're looking for Canmore, which ones you're looking for Red Deer, and what the costs were associated with those? I would expect that that's probably not going to happen today.
I actually
Okay.
have it. Sorry,
Okay.
Your Worship. That was actually
Go ahead.
sent out to council in an email earlier in the month. I do have one here if council would like to see it at this time.
Your worship, I'd like that read in the minutes if that's possible.
Can you read it into the minutes?
I can,
Please.
yeah. Your Worship. So the first quote that we received was from Canmore. It was from the Coast Hotel. Do you want the breakdown of the cost, or do you just want the cost?
Canmore
Okay.
cost.
So that cost is $6,709.04. I then received two quotes from facilities in Banff. The first is the Banff Park Lodge. That total cost is $7,242. I received a quote from Rinrock Resort. The cost there was $7,762. And then in Red Deer, we received a quote from the Sheraton for a total cost of $6,739.28. Just a note that the costs include hotel, meeting space, meals, and mileage.
Councillor Walls.
Your worship, just so I'm clear, so that's hotels, meals, that's getting there, us getting back.
Correct. So the cost for mileage was assuming that we would carpool using two vehicles, so two additional vehicles plus the town van. Meals were estimated at $40 per person for dinners. The cost of the meeting room space includes breakfast and lunch, and then the room rate.
Your worship, if I may, which location is administration recommending?
Based on cost alone, Canmore is the least expensive.
Councillor Walls.
And your worship, if I may, Dr. Stanford, can you provide your comments on the benefits or not benefits of going out of town?
Can I intervene, Your Worship? I was having a great deal of trouble hearing
Oh,
Ms. Swatsky. So I wasn't sure of the numbers that were given. But the other thing I just wanted to ask administration while they're contemplating this is if every councillor took $1,200 out of their personal budget, which has already been, in the budget and planned, then we'd have close to $8,500 to spend. I was wondering if that's not something that could be considered. Thank you, Your Worship. I appreciate your tolerance for this.
No, that's fine, thanks. And administration is just having a quick little discussion here before they provide us with some additional information.
Just wanted to verify with our Director of Corporate Services. In the past, when we've gone on retreats, the money hasn't come out of the individual councilors, it was budgets, it was in addition.
Okay, Councillor Walls.
Your Worship, a follow-up comment on that to Dr. Sanford. Could it come out of our personal budgets?
Sure, I guess so. We haven't thought about it. Yes.
Councillor Fuel.
My concern with it coming out of our own budgets is if there are conferences like the Downtown Revitalization Conference or something else that I might want to go to, taking it out of my personal conference expense might limit me in other things that I might want to do. So I don't know if that should be done.
Subsequent to that, Your Worship.
Councillor Peterson, please.
I'm not just sure personally where I'm at, even though our deputy CAO does a phenomenal job of reporting to us on where we are. I haven't looked at it for this month. Is it ever a possibility, a consideration? For instance, the mayor, even though has a greater budget than the rest of us, also has a greater onus and responsibility for ensuring that information comes back to council through a variety of environments. But if a councillor like myself or Councillor Fuel, who work full-time, as opposed to someone like Councillor Sobel, who often represents us at many things, is it possible through a motion to share unused budget with other councillors who are doing things on our behalf when we're not able to?
I'll direct that question to administration, please.
Yes, that's possible.
Okay, did you get that, Councillor Peterson?
I did, Your Worship, and so I think that Councillor Fuel makes a very good point, and I think it's very, very legitimate. But I can certainly say that in the past year I didn't use all of my budget, and then I think about the fact that somebody like Councillor Sobel, who or Councillor Graychuk, both of them who put in extraordinary amounts of time, and yourself, that if there is a way to when that's a necessity or seen as something that's very, very positive, I think that's something that should be considered. So if we can use our own money at this time, we should. And if it's not viable, we shouldn't have to. We shouldn't be forced to. Each councillor should have a professional development plan in mind. We've talked to our constituents. We know, and they know what our purposeful goals are as related to the whole. And I think that it's something that we should contemplate in this particular case. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wells?
Your Worship, if I may ask Dr. Stanford to comment on my question regarding maybe the benefits of going out of town or staying here. I'd like to hear from Dr. Stanford and his comments.
There's benefits and the opposite. For example, they've been brought up by council, but if you're going out of town, going to, doesn't matter, Red Deer, wherever we've done in the past, there was some socializing, and also going way back, we used to go bowling Friday evening as council and admin. We had a good time anyway doing that. Staying here saves some money. It's handy for all the records are here if we need them. That's about it.
Worship.
Deputy Mayor Graychuk, please.
Just one other comment. Yes, when we do come and stay here or stay in Strathmore, we do go out on a Saturday night, and usually the meal bill is anywhere from $700 to $800. So you got to take that into consideration also. Also, I in the past had people pay for it in the town of Strathmore. Just a comment.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody want to make another motion?
I move that we, may, Your Worship,
Please.
that we go out of town to Canmore for the spring workshop.
We have a motion on the floor that council hold the 2015 spring workshop on May 1st to 3rd, 2015 in Canmore. Discussion, Councillor Walls.
Your Worship, I have a question for our municipal clerk. What happens if this is deadlocked because we are now not having it in Strathmore and we may not be having it in Canmore?
And I guess you're just not having one. No. Yeah. Another motion will have to be made.
We have a motion on the floor to hold a workshop in Canmore. And I have a sense how this motion is going to turn out.
Your worship, would it be better if we decided to postpone this until all of council was able to be here?
No. I'll object to that. We have already postponed for that reason.
And your worship, if I could add, I've had to get one of my staff members to cover a class of mine so that we could come to a decision on this for this special meeting, and to go away, it's like,
No, I agree. We got to make a decision today.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to hold it in Canmore. All in favor of the motion to hold in Canmore? Councillor Peterson, how do you vote?
In favor.
In favor. We have 3 in favor. All opposed? We have 3 opposed.
Well, we're not going to do this forever. I'll make a motion that we have it here in Strathmore.
We have a motion to hold the,
It's already been voted against.
if they, within a certain period of time, we're allowed to hold that motion again, are we not? How does that go?
Your worship, you can bring that motion back, but it would have to be someone who voted, I guess.
The opposite of it.
Yes, yeah.
How do you mean? Yeah, but
I have a question, your worship.
Councillor Peterson.
Councillor Sobel, you've clearly given a lot of thought to a different kind of retreat process. In order to break this deadlock, would you consider making a motion to that effect?
No. No, I won't. I don't want to make that motion. I think I have my own ideas as to where that motion should come from, Councillor Peterson, and I don't think it should come from me.
Okay.
So the motion that we need to bring to be brought forward, the initial one to hold it in Strathmore, there was 3 in favor, and the ones that would have to bring, one person that would have to bring it forward would have to be a person that voted against it, and that was Deputy Mayor Graychuk. So he's bringing it forward again.
Your worship, so a motion would have to be made to reconsider that resolution.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Graychuk, would you like to make a motion to reconsider?
that's what my motion will be, your worship.
Thank you. We have a motion to reconsider that council hold the 2015 spring workshop on May 1st to 3rd, 2015 in Strathmore in council chambers. All of those in favor of that, please. We have 4 in favor. Opposed, please. Councillor Wall, Councillor Peterson, are you opposed? Have we lost you, Councillor?
Sorry, I lost you, so I haven't heard the motion, or I haven't heard anybody speaking to or against the motion.
Sorry. Deputy Mayor Graychuk, how was that worded now?
That reconsider the original motion that we have it here in Strathmore. I mean, that's the reason I did this. I mean, we can go on forever here. I mean, obviously, let's get on with it. Let's make a decision.
I'm having difficulty hearing you, Councillor Graychuk, or Deputy Mayor Graychuk. So you're saying that the motion is lost rather than spend time going around in circles and waiting for Councillor Blockland to come back, and that we just go ahead and continue to do what has been done in the past?
Yeah.
Is that what you're advocating?
Exactly.
All right.
And
Sorry, I didn't hear that. Your
Okay.
worship, I apologize.
No, that's fine. And we held the vote in favor of holding the meeting here in Strathmore. 4 voted in favor, and I didn't know whether or not you voted in favor or in opposition.
Oh, I didn't hear the motion, so
Okay.
so yeah, I would in the interest of going forward, and in the interest of compromise, and in the hopes of a future planning session to be held by council in the very near future, I would vote in favor of the motion, your worship.
Thank you. And opposed, please. Okay, 1 opposed. The motion to hold the meeting in Strathmore is carried. Oh, no.
No, Your Worship, that
The
motion needs to come forward.
reconsider is carried. So now we have to have a motion. And who makes that motion?
It has to be somebody who voted against the original motion.
I'll make that motion.
Deputy Mayor Graychuk is making a motion that council hold the 2015 spring workshop on May 1st to 3rd, 2015 in Strathmore in Chambers. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Yes.
And it's unanimous. Thank you. Second item on our agenda is Small Communities Fund grant application and finance, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Director Teedy, how are you today?
I'm sorry to be a perpetual thorn, Your Worship, more than usual, but I can't hear who's speaking.
Director Teedy will be talking in just a second, and as soon as he starts talking, if you don't hear him,
I can't hear from where the microphone is now, and I would hate to miss anything
okay.
that Director Teedy had to tell us.
Okay, go ahead, Director Teedy. We'll see if she can hear you.
Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Can you hear?
Strathmore has the opportunity to apply for a small communities
Yes.
grant
Thank you.
and needs approval from council to make this application. On the agenda item, we've outlined the two projects, the first being the East Strathmore Reservoir. This was a project that has been talked about in the past, but has not been contemplated until the opportunity to make application for this grant. We estimate the cost of this project be approximately $6 million. The second project is for the mainline sewer trunk from Orchard Park to the wastewater treatment plant. While I do not have a firm engineering estimate, it is suggested that this project could be in the area of $2.5 million up to perhaps $3.5 million, depending on timing and competitive bidding. The important thing is the time frame that we have to work with and receiving council approval to make the grant application.
Questions, please. Deputy Mayor Graychuk.
This may be an unfair question, Mr. Teedy, but any gut feeling as to what the odds are of getting this if we do go ahead with it?
I believe we will be successful somewhat. We may not get all the funding that we would like for the reservoir, but I believe we will get some funding.
And then what is the timeline we have to spend it in?
We have an extended timeline, but I think given the state of the economy now and the competitive bid that we got on the roads for the 2015 project period, we would move ahead as rapidly as we could and identify potential land sites and move towards construction.
One more question for me. If we did get, say, use any figure, $1 million, $2 million, and we have to come up with another $4 million ourselves, and we don't have it, can we refuse the money then? I mean, I don't want to put us on the spot, is what I'm saying.
These projects are not in budget currently. The funding comes in part, it's a third federal, a third provincial, and a third local. So if we were to receive $2 million total, we would then have to fund $4 million. Keep in mind the town paid off approximately $4 million worth of debt that we had anticipated borrowing $3 million to complete the roads projects. It's anticipated at this time that we will not need that funding, and so we could have some additional borrowing capability without going to extreme amounts on the borrowing.
Oh, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to mention, the new reservoir is very important. If you look back at our plans for quite a few years, we were to build the big reservoir on the west side of town. It's complete and working well. Then we were to build one on the east side. And another thing is, we're planning on spending over $1 million to upgrade the Brentwood pump station. And if we could get approval to do the other, we could just sort of do some minor repairs to keep it going without spending the whole $1 million to upgrade it. And then I think the upgrade will only last a few years and there'll be more upgrades. So I think it's really key to try and get it. And so basically the 6 million that we're estimating includes the road down Centennial from Brentwood Pump Station down there and then across George Freeman Trail into wherever we're going to put the new reservoir. And the new reservoir will help that whole east area big time.
Oh, who was first? Do you remember?
No, go ahead.
Okay, Councillor Walz.
Your worship, I guess just to follow up on what Dr. Sanford was saying there, can you talk about the importance of the main line sewer trunk from Orchard Road to the water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant rather?
Yes. Quite a few years ago, we went out there, we pulled the lid off there and looked into the sewer, and it was only 4 feet down, which is very shallow for a sewer, and then it ran on down. Anyway, we need to upgrade that pretty bad for all the development that's taking place. And anyway, we're thinking that we want to put in a big enough line to handle it for many years to come.
And my subsequent question would be, would there be any offsite levies that would be able to be used to repay some of that?
Sorry, I can't comment. I'd have to research it.
I don't believe so.
Councillor Sobel?
You don't think so?
Not on this project.
Okay.
It hadn't been discussed in any
Okay.
event.
Thank you, Your Worship. I mean, they're both excellent projects, and I don't want to suggest for a second that I would not support them. But just to clarify Councillor Graychuk's question, are we committed to these projects if we get the money?
I don't know the answer for sure, but
Okay.
normally in the past, if you don't want to go ahead or can't, whatever, you can usually drop it. And there's lots of other communities that want the money. Matter of fact, last time they had over 400 applications. This is the third time I remember the program under different names. And they had 400 communities and projects that applied, and they never approved all of them.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Graychuk?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate again, so that this doesn't box us in. I mean, I'm for these projects 100%. I mean, there's no question we need to go ahead with, especially with the reservoir. But I want to make sure that we're not boxed in, that we can. What if we only get 500,000? You know, we can't come up with the rest. You know,
We probably would walk the projects then.
pardon me.
We would decline doing the projects.
So you can give the money back, or you could refuse the money, or you refuse the grant. Okay, thank you.
Further questions?
Your Worship, I'm prepared to move that council approve both the East Strathmore Reservoir project and the main line sewer trunk project pending funding approval, and that council instruct administration to apply for funding for these two projects from the Small Communities Fund grant.
Discussion? Councillor Peterson, did you hear the motion?
I did, thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote. All in favor?
Yes?
And it's passed unanimously. Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. All in favor? And that's
Yes.
passed. Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. I know it's been difficult for you.
No, thank you.